Welcome back to another episode of Joyful Mate. I'm your Joyful Journey mentor, Anthony Hartcher, and this purpose of this podcast is to bring more joy, fulfillment, happiness, life satisfaction, and contentment your way. And I'm sharing insights as to what I've gathered over the last week or so, just wandering around, observing human nature, feeling a sense of what's going on in the world around me and wanting to make sense of it. So I'm just sharing actually, it came from another podcast I was listening to. It was a financial podcast on the financial markets and looking forward. What does it look forward? And the guy that was sharing his expertise was saying that what they do is they sort out the signal from the noise. And so they've got to work out what's the noise and find what is the signal amongst that noise that is important to them and important to them serving their clients. And I was thinking, okay, that's a really good take-home message for me. And this podcast is a lot of what goes on in our minds can be noise. But the noise is there to serve a purpose, and it's to bring something to your attention that you're ignoring. And so if you feel a sense of like there's a lot of clutter in my head or a lot of voices in my head and it's just going in a circular motion and I just can't think or concentrate, it's time to reflect. It's time to slow down and sit with the noise and look for the signal. I was today in the ocean and I heard these guys talking about just having a conversation, and I was eavesdropping, and they were saying, or one of the guys was saying to the other guy was, I just can't get that song out of my head. You know, we listened to it 10 minutes ago and it's just playing around in my head. And that's exactly what happens when we're not picking up the signal amongst the noise, because we can't dissolve or dampen the noise without taking the signal away. So the signal's the message to you. And if you ignore the message, then the noise prevails. It will just stay there. I was recently talking to my wife and she's, going through a phase called perimenopause, and it's certainly a challenge for any women to go through perimenopause. And I feel for her because it's a roller coaster. It's like highs and lows and just all over the place, in terms of hormones and fluctuations and extreme highs and extreme lows. And it's not a steady ride. It's a real roller coaster. And we're discussing about, what to do and how I can support her. And she's got a lot of noise going on. And I was sort of wanting to find the signal or help her find the signal. And we've been having this chat for weeks now. And I think I sort of got an idea what the signal might be, but the noise is overwhelming for her. And at times she can't see that or find the signal. And again, it's a process. Like, as much as it might be in your face, if the noise is so loud, it's so hard to find that signal. And often there's parts of us that are entangled with it. So, for example, if we're very self-righteous or very proud, we don't want to own up and confess or, admit to the challenge or the problem or own the problem. Because there's so much noise, we're wanting to disown the problem and project it onto other people and say it's, there's other people, it's the other person's fault. And this resonated with me the other day when I was with my family and was celebrating my son's black belt celebration. He just recently accomplished his black belt. And we're sitting around the table and my dad's, he's boisterous and has a voice and can be quite, well, you could label it sort of a bit obnoxious or a bit confronting maybe, and sometimes a bit challenging. And, like as an observer, you're sort of sitting back and thinking, oh, what's he going to say next? Is it going to be embarrassing? And I think, embarrassing from his point of view, but I don't think he realizes that it is. And it's a bit like calling a spade, black and white. So he was saying a few things and it sort of just wasn't sitting well with me. And I had to sit with it and reflect on it. And I realized afterwards, it's me. It's got nothing to do with dad. And I realized that I do that behavior in a public environment, and that I was an observer watching myself, but my dad was the amplifier of the signal. And so I was getting all the noise, the uncomfortable feeling of, please don't open your mouth, don't say anything, I'm worried about what you're going to say. And so this is all the noise going and the chatter going in my head. But he was actually amplifying something that I needed to observe about myself and learn about myself. And that's what was unsettling, was that he made me aware of this behavior that I do. And I was thinking, he's the one in this thing that's, looking, mud on his face or whatever. But it was actually a learning lesson for me, and to own it and to love it. And so I'm now owning it. I certainly owned it, because I'm recalling all these situations where I've been exactly like Dad was in that public environment, and how the observers would have been saying, Anthony, shut your mouth. Or they might have actually said, Anthony, shut your mouth. Or afterwards, oh, you're so embarrassing. And so I was now I'm thinking, okay, I definitely own it. I definitely do it. And I'm now going through a process of working out how it serves the dynamic, how it serves me, how it serves the others, the observers. Part of my thinking at this point is obviously how it serves me is that I'm speaking. I'm vocating what is going on. So I'm not suppressing things. I'm openly speaking. And yeah, so I'm being expressive. So I've got a voice, which is really important for all of us, is to have a voice. And sometimes that voice might not come out as you want it to, but it's a process of, the more you speak up and you get comfortable with speaking up, the more you're better able to articulate what's going on inside, so that the other people understand, as opposed to getting offended. And so but that's a process, right? And it all starts with speaking up. So I'm thinking that's exactly how I've gone about doing this. Is I started speaking up to have a voice, because I wanted to have a voice. I'd been suppressing and shyness and all that sort of thing, and not wanting to speak up, and too afraid to speak in the crowds. And so that was a noise inside me, and the signal was, speak up, Anthony. When I spoke up, obviously the wrong words came out, or words that weren't well articulated and could be picked up as offensive. But over the time, I'm getting more comfortable with speaking up, and so I can find the words. And so I'm able to, I found the signal in the moment with my dad, and the signal was, okay, Anthony, this is something you haven't loved in yourself that you've done in the past, and it's bringing up an uneasy feeling. And so I'm now going through that process of loving what I've done in the past. I've owned it. I own it. I know I do it just as much as Dad does it. And so there's no judgment now on Dad. It's my issue. And this is something you can take forward into your life, is that if noise is coming up and you're observing someone or not liking what they're doing, it's something that you've done in the past that you're being reminded of, that you're shameful or feel guilty about. And what that person is actually doing is sending you a signal. Yes, you generate noise in your body, uncomfortable emotions and feelings. However, the noise is there to bring to your awareness, there's a signal. There's some message in it for you. You got to look for the message and not deflect the message onto someone else. Like deflect that, okay, my dad's the obnoxious one, the embarrassing one. I wish he wasn't here. None of that stuff. That is me blaming the outside world, whereas I need to go inward to dissolve the noise, find the signal, love it, and then it's fully integrated. And then I can, it no longer, the noise gets totally dampened, because the emotions, there's no longer associated emotions with it. So this is a process. And if you're picking up noise from the environment, it's that deflective awareness. It's that you're blaming the environment, and therefore the noise just hangs there, because the noise is there for you to get the message, for you to find the signal. and for you to dampen the noise and dissolve the noise by loving whatever you've done in the past and seeing the order in what you've done and how it served you and how it served the others that might have been embarrassed. And so when we find that we find that, I guess, wholeness of what's happened, then there's no emotion to it, because the emotion's only there when we're looking at one side of it and just judging it and saying it's bad and it's terrible. And the more we have that judgment, the more negativity we have associated with it, the more negativity it brings up in terms of emotions. That guilty feeling, that how dare they do that? How could they do that? Don't they have any self-awareness of what they're doing? Don't they have any emotional intelligence? Well, it's a process, and we all lie on this spectrum of growth and development. And depending on where that person is in their life, everyone's at different stages of growth and development. And that ultimate growth is that full integration with everyone and everything, where you can see yourself in others and see yourself in everything. And so there's no disconnection. Like, the disconnection is created through judgment, through labeling. Then we become disconnected. But in order to dissolve that label, we need to look at the wholeness of it and see the order, as opposed to focusing on the disorder. And there is order there. We just got to be open to looking for it. We need to have that growth mindset that, yes, there's a lesson here for me. And I'm always thinking, if I feel noise, why am I feeling the noise? What am I judging? What am I labeling? When have I done it? What's the benefit of doing it? How has it served me? How has it served others? And really seeing the wholeness in the situation in terms of my behavior or whatever I'm judging. And when you see that wholeness, you feel more connected. So I see myself in Dad. I feel more connected because I see myself in Dad. And that's connecting us, as opposed to not denying that I do it and being too proud of saying I don't do that behavior, and then just looking down on Dad. That's not being respectful, and it's not being truthful, and it's not being honest, is it? It's me being too proud if I have that lens. Whereas if I see, okay, yeah, I do that, Dad, and I can see the benefits in doing that, and I can see the benefits in the people around us in doing that, and you're making me aware and making me own when I've done it, and making me love what I did, because I wouldn't be doing this podcast if it wasn't for me finding my voice. And so if you feel that you don't have a voice, you probably go on this journey too, in terms of eventually being so suppressed and having all those suppressed emotions that you just burst out with something. And it obviously doesn't come out well, but it's you voicing what's inside of you. And yeah, so I think whenever you're sensing noise, I want you to look for the signal. And the only way you can find the signal is you've got to be in a calm state and a reflective state. So it's obviously only going to happen when you sit down, relax yourself, and reflect, and stay in that reflective state. And if you need help with this process, if you've got too much noise, then I'd be happy to coach you through this process that I coach myself through and my clients through. So please reach out if the noise is too great for you and you can't find the signal. I'd be happy to coach you to find the signal, to find the meaning, so that you can then move to the next level, the next challenge, and then become more integrated with the world around you, more integrated and connected with the people around you, more integrated and connected with the things around you. So you love everyone and everything, and you're grateful for everyone and everything. So please reach out if you are needing help and there's too much noise and you just can't find that signal. I'd happy to help and coach you through that. And please share this episode if you found it value and interesting and intriguing and think other people could benefit from it. Please share it with them. Please follow the podcast and please share your comments. I'd love your feedback as to your journey share your stories. And if you would like to share your stories openly, I'd happy to have this conversation with you on the podcast. So thank you for listening to the Joyful Mate podcast and coming on the journey with me and in spreading more joy, connectedness, integration, wholeness, love, and gratitude. Thank you.